This is your one and only 𝐕👏💏81 with your daily dose of video goodness, and welcome back to another informational Valheim video. Today we're going to talk about the most recent blog post, dive into some pictures, and a bunch of other newsy goodness. Let's get to it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is taking a look at the blog post. So the blog post just basically is to celebrate their 1-year anniversary. It's the first blog post of the year, and today on February the 2nd, at the time of recording this, is their 1-year anniversary. So most of this is just a bunch of blah 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 nonsense that honestly I don't care about. I don't know if you do. I will link to it down in the description just in case you want to read it. But they held a build competition. They talk about Steam Deck, just a bunch of stuff that I'm not worried about. What we care about is this, the Caves update. And they talk about that, and they talk about some other stuff too, and we're going to jump straight to that. Alongside the mountain update, we've also been ramping up work on Mistlands. The phase of nailing down the concept is done, and we know what kind of inhabitants we want the biome to have. This means we're now working on a bunch of new build pieces and enemies, as well as defining more of the new mechanics we will be introducing, though we'd like to keep those a secret for a while longer. Here's a little piece of concept art to get a feeling of where we're headed, and then they show this picture of the moth. We'll take a closer up look at it here in just a second. This is going to be a little while out. They just nailed down the concepts of what they want the Mistlands to be. So don't look for Mistlands anytime soon, because once you get concepts, then you have to start putting those concepts into the game, seeing them out, make sure they match the concept art that you came up with to a certain extent, seeing how that all fleshes out, coding the new mechanics, making sure that they're not crazy buggy. I don't look to see the Mistlands update anytime soon, to be honest with you. Now, it could be a situation where they decide to ramp up their team and hire a bunch of new people, but considering things that they've said in the past, I don't look for that to happen. I look for them to keep the team small and for production to be relatively slow, as it has been. However, we do know that they are somewhat close, although they haven't given a time frame, to having everything done that they want for the mountain biome and for the caves update in the mountain biome. So before we get into putting on our Sherlock Holmes hats and breaking down some of these photos that they have released, let's take a closer look at this moth thingy. So taking a closer look at this thing, what I find interesting is there's no size comparison here. We have no idea how big this is going to be. They didn't do any type of drawing, a little shadow of, normally when you see these types of things, they'll have like a little shadow of the figure next to it somewhere, giving you an idea of the size of the thing that you're looking at. We have no idea. These could be massive. These could be huge. We could end up riding these. We know they want additional mounts. It would be cool to have a flying mount. Or it could be a situation where these are about the size of the 𝐷eath_𝐸𝐸 and it's more or less just a reskin of the 𝐷eath_𝐸𝐸. While that would kind of suck if they just start reskinning stuff like that, it would also be good because it would help ramp up production and be a situation where we see Mistlands faster, because it's easier to just reskin something, reuse the animations and all of that stuff, than it is to create something from scratch, which we will get. I have no idea. We know very little about Mistlands, and at this point, they know very little about Mistlands because they just have their concepts done. So yeah, that's it. Okay, let's move on to what you're here for, and that's the caves. So one thing I'm starting to question here, looking deeper into the images that they have posted, if it's going to be a situation where we can finally build underground. Obviously, these caves are dungeons, but we have no concept of whether it's an instance type style dungeon like the other ones where we walk up to a door and we're transported into one, or if it's going to be part of the map generation and we can just freely walk into them and they expand underground. I'm really hoping it's a situation where it is we can just freely walk into them and they expand underground, and once we clear them out, we can build in there. I know building underground is something that we have all wanted for a very long time, and we're going to talk more about that here in a second. So what you're looking at now is the entrance to one of these. And like I stated, there's really no identifier here, whether or not it works the same as the current dungeons that are in the game or if it's going to be different. but that does seem like a rather large entrance to be walking into. Now, from what they've showed us from the pictures of the inside of these caves, there's two situations that could happen here. Either the scale of them is extremely large, or the tile sets vary, or we can build inside of them. So they show a couple of different situations here where you see the cave and the cave looks organic. As you see here with this picture, we have the stones showing the wolves that show the transformation of a human into a wolf and a human into the more werewolf, the Fenring thing that we already see in the game, which I have to agree with a lot of other people's assumptions on this, that this is the Cult of the Wolf update. They just kind of change the name and start calling it Caves Update instead, or it is taken on the name of the Cave Update instead. Anyway, so we see this and you see how this looks. This looks like an organic cave. Then we move on to this other picture here and you can see one of the Fenrings on all fours, and this is more of a different style wolf. This is like the Fenring but on all fours instead of the normal wolf that we see there in the background behind those pillars. We also see what looks like may possibly be harvestable crystals, so we won't actually have to go fight the golems in order to get the crystals. We will be able to harvest the crystals inside the cave. And that goes on par with stuff that they've said in the past as far as like, we don't want to do anything unless it has a purpose to add more resources and stuff into the game, and everything is done with a purpose. So having these caves be a place where you can also go farm crystal for glass and such just makes sense. But I want to point out the tile set, the way that it looks. It still continues to look like an organic cave. Now, if you take a look at this shot, you can see this is where things start to become very different. We are no longer in an organic cave setting. This is a cave that has been constructed. You can see we have a little bit of what looks like to be dried grass or hay or something like that covering the ground there, which is stone. You can see a line there where it looks like laid stone, similar to the build pieces that we have when it comes to building in stone. Also with the stairs, that's blocked stairs laid down, block pillars, all stone construction pieces that you see there in the background. Now, I've lightened this up a good bit from the original post that they made so that we could see everything a lot better. And you can see we have the werewolf there in the background as well, and a wolf structure that looks similar to the wooden structure that we can make right now to decorate our builds with, but it's kind of sunk down in stone, like it has been carved out of stone. And we have a new structure piece here that I'm not 100% sure what that is. And then we see these new braziers that are possibly a new build piece. And the reason I say that is because the lighting sources in the other dungeons are lighting sources that we can construct in place. So there's a pretty good chance that these will also be lighting sources that we can construct in place, and it would be a really nice addition. We don't have anything right now. All we have is the hanging ones. We don't have the ones that set on the ground, and those would look fantastic in a lot of builds and be a really nice addition to building. But the main point I want you to take away from this screenshot here is that this is stone constructed. This is something that was deliberately done and not an organic cave setting. Just like when we take a look at this here. This is another situation where we have constructed pieces. This is constructed stone pieces. The tile set, look at it. It separates and it looks like this is something that could be constructed by the player. And it almost looks like this could be a situation where our current stone pieces get a texture update. They're kind of bland right now. They could do a lot better and still keep with the same art style that they have and just update them and make them look better. These look absolutely fantastic. I mean, just take a look at our stone pieces now compared to their stone pieces that are placed inside the caves here. And once again, I want to point out that this has an organic cave feel. Look at the ceiling there. That has been combined with what looks to be player built structure. Now, it may not be. There's a perfectly good chance that this is a tile set that they can build with that we cannot build with, similar to the Goblin Camp. All of those Goblin Camp build pieces exist in the game. You can spawn them in, they will hang in the air, but you cannot build with them. So this could be a similar situation. But I find it to be somewhat funny if they make these stone walls look so good and our stone walls look like this. This could easily be an updated texture to our stone walls and be a bit of a spoiler without just coming out and saying it, that we will be able to build inside caves. You can also see right here underneath this tattered piece of cloth hanging on the wall or tapestry, that's the word I was looking for, this tattered tapestry, that there is a different type of block here behind the tapestry. And there is also one here in the background. And then we have two of those tapestries placed side by side. So this Cult of the Wolf, aka or Brotherhood of the Wolf, whatever they were calling that update in their roadmap that they ended up scrapping, could also come with new build pieces, these braziers, these hanging tapestries, as well as updated textures and the ability to build inside these caves once we clear them out, which I think would be absolutely fantastic. I think the community would love it, and I think it would do a lot of good for the game as a whole. I know that is something that the community has been wanting for a very, very long time, is the ability to build underground. And while they can't straight out give us that ability to dig caves because of the way their map works, they would have to basically redesign how their maps are generated. This would be a really good compromise. We can't necessarily dig our own caves, but we could find these caves and then we could build inside of them, and that would pretty much solve the issue. And there's a very clear difference in the look of the screenshots that they have shown us inside these caves that lead me to believe that building inside of caves may very well be a possibility. Now, once again, that's not guaranteed. This could just be a tile set that we can't see, and the caves could vary. We could have caves that are pretty much empty and look very organic, similar to this shot here, and just have some random wolves strewn throughout them, and it be the more primal wolves, the ones that walk on all fours, as well as the wolves that we're used to. And then there could be this tile set that you see here with the wolves that walk on two legs that are more advanced, that have the actual building done inside of them. So let me know what you all think. Let me know what you all take away from this. Is there anything that I missed in these screenshots that you noticed? Let me know down in the comments. Do you think we will be able to build inside of the caves? Would you want to build inside of the caves? And do you think that would be a good compromise for building underground? Let me know what you all think down in the comments section. I'm eager to hear your all's thoughts as usual. And if you enjoyed this video, consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be notified when I upload other content. And I don't just cover Valheim, I cover all kinds of different stuff. So you never know when I'm going to be making videos for a game that you may be playing. All right, that is going to wrap it up for this episode. I want to give an absolute massive shout out to my supporters on Patreon for making this episode possible. Y'all are absolutely amazing people. If you would like to join my Elite Crew Patreon supporters, please check out the link in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. If you're shy, you don't like to comment, just hit that thumbs up button and share your support. Until next time, thanks for watching.